Let's try a new setup so it's not so bright in here. Instead of using the light that's overhead, I'm shooting with these lamps. I'll show you them real quick. This lamp right here. It's in the corner, so I mean we could try that, see if that works. So let me make sure it's working. There you go. Here's another shot of the lamp. And the light of the lamp projects. Alright, now back to me. Now, there's a lot of things to talk about last night. Last night was TNA Lockdown, and last night was the second episode of the All-Star Celebrity Apprentice. Two totally different things. So I can understand that the viewers of one video may not be the viewers of both videos, but you know what? I'm going to give you a twofer, folks, because we're going to do the same video, the same topic. So the first part here, we're going to talk TNA Lockdown for all you wrestling fans, and after wrestling fans is over and everything is finally finished with talking about Lockdown, I'm going to discuss Celebrity Apprentice. So the Apprentice folk are probably going to want to watch the second half of this video, and the wrestling folk are probably going to want to watch the first half of this video. So, first off, we're going to talk about last night's TNA pay-per-view, TNA Lockdown. And you know how we do when it comes to recaps. We're going to talk about the show, I'm going to go to the finish of the match, and then I'm going to tell you my opinion of the match. So that's exactly what we're going to do. And as usual, the help of 411mania.com and televisionwithoutpity.com will be helping us out on these recaps. Now, a great opening video to open up Lockdown. Of course, it has been announced and it's official. Lockdown is the highest attended TNA event of all time, even beating the shows at the Wembley Arena in London, England during the UK tour. So, kudos to TNA for being able to fill this place. Obviously, it's not the crowd that it could have been. Like, I hate to make comparisons, but you have to sometimes. WWE may have been able to fill the entire building. I don't know. Probably, most likely. But when it comes down to it, TNA filled every single seat that they had, and that's awesome. There's probably some seats left over if I had to guess, but you couldn't really tell because when you had a nice wide-angle shot of the crowd, you did not see many, if any, seats that were empty. So that's awesome. Kudos to TNA for that. So this is our second out of 4 pay-per-views for the TNA calendar year for pay-per-view. The rest of them will be one-night-only pay-per-views, which I might review. I haven't quite decided yet, so we'll figure that out when we get there. We're going to start us off with a match that was just announced recently. It was a 3-way dance for the X Division Championship. Kenny King defending the X Division title against Zema Ion and Christian York. Now, I got to start calling him Zema Ion because I keep calling him Shima Zion because it's so easy to do because I grew up with the guy. Not really grew up with the guy, but I know the guy personally, so it's hard to not call him by his old name. And Zema Ion works too, so I have to get in the habit of calling him by his Zema Ion, just like I am tried to stop calling him Bryan Danielson, calling him Daniel Bryan, and Claudio Castagnoli, calling him Antonio Cesaro. So, trying to stick with the WWE names. And it's kind of hard to not mention Jon Moxley and Tyler Black and call them Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins. So, but anyway, I'll get to that. Now, we started us off with a 3-way matchup. There are a couple botches here and there, but let's go to the finish. And Kenny King goes for a suplex. York uses his knee strikes to stop of it. King this time uses the needle of his own to drop York before placing Ion on the top turnbuckle. King picks him up for a slam. York slides under, hits a fall-away slam powerbomb combination out of the Tower of Doom. It looked amazing. It looked absolutely incredible. York with a cover, 1-2, and a kick out. Then York goes for the pin on Ion this time around. 1-2, one more kick out. York back kick to the midsection, hits the Bulldog. Shima rushes York and then gets dropped with a clothesline. And King attempts the spin kick. York catches him and backdrop driver and hits the mood swing on Shima for 1-2 and barely a kick out. King misses the kick. York gives him one of his own. He goes back into it, raking both men's backs. Nice back rake from Shima. He sends King into York, who goes for a DDT. Ion hits the neckbreaker on York as he DDTs King. Great double team maneuver right there. And he goes for the cover, but he doesn't get the pinfall. Shima goes to the top, but York kicks him, knocks him to the mat. York scales up top, hits the double boot stomp off the top, followed by the dreamscape into Kenny King. York sets up for the mood swing, but King gets the running knees up to knock him off. King gets the full force kick into Tashima and goes for the royal flush on York. York rolls him up out of it. Great counter right there. York goes for the moonswing again. King reverses into a royal flush, and 1, 2, 3, Kenny King retains. A couple botches here and there. Like I mentioned earlier in the match, he went for a springboard off of Shima's, like, the back of his head and neck, like the upper back, and he kind of slipped off, and he basically just ate the railing head first. That looked kind of brutal, to be totally honest, so it's good that he's not more hurt than he was. It was an interesting match, actually. It looks like he was trying to moonsault, and he slipped, and that's why he hit the back of his head on the guardrail, so that sucks for that. But, you know, I mean, it was, personally, for me, the match was overall good, but it was way, way too fast. The pacing was too fast. And there's one thing about being fast-paced, and there's another thing with just trying to get your stuff in, honestly. And that's what it was, this match. I think they could have done a whole lot better, and I think they did a decent opener to open Lockdown, and I think people will be talking about that, but there's a couple of the spots in the match, it just didn't really work, honestly. So, match was decent overall. Now we got to see, once again, Jeremy Borash in the back for the first backstage segment of the evening. This time, he's hyping social networking, bringing in Joseph Park. Park says he's ready and goes into this talk about churros and Texas. It was just really strange. Bad Influence interrupt, and which is awesome, because obviously Bad Influence, to me, are the greatest tag team in the wrestling industry, without any question. Frankie tells Park that Dixie Carter wants to talk to him, and Park, of course, chases off to go talk to Dixie. Cass takes over the interview and says, tonight they will become the World Tag Team Champions of the world again. Daniels said they're tired of being disrespected by Carter, the fans, and their opponents tonight. He says the belts are the most important thing in their lives, and tonight they will prove they are the best tag team in the business. Oh my god, Chris Daniels is awesome. I'm telling you right now, he's got world champion written all over him. I don't know how you're going to do it now, but I'll get to that later as we progress. So Joey Ryan made his way to the ring for our second official match of the evening, which was another match that was announced at the last possible minute, which was a match with Joey Ryan making his in-ring return, this time against Joseph Park. So basically, he was oiling himself up and looking all creepy like he likes to. And he did that, so Park was looking on in disgust before the match even started. Joey grabs the mic and says, it's true, everything is bigger in Texas. We knew that was going to happen. And going in a different direction this time citing Park in the crowd as evidence. Ryan says, you are learning insider terms and I'm going to give you a brand new one. You are a mark and you belong sitting in the audience rather in the ring. I like this inside stuff, I really do, honestly. It's kind of a guilty pleasure, to be totally honest. Ryan says he has the size advantage over Park where it counts. Wink, wink. And Ryan hands the mic over to Park, and Park says, San Antonio rocks. Yes, the Adam Sandler way to get out of a promo. Good job. So during the cheap pop, Joey Ryan attacks, and we go back to the match, and midway through the match to the finish, like I always do. So Joey Ryan backs Joseph Park into the corner, rubs his chest all over his face. I don't want to take that. So Ryan follows up with a running forearm and then showboats to the crowd, and he goes for another. This time he gets backdropped to the ring apron. Joey Ryan connects with a right hand and scales up to the top turnbuckle. Ryan connects with the missile dropkick and wastes even more time showing off once more. This time he covers Park rather suggestively for only a 2 count. Park gets up to his knees, grabs Ryan by the chest hair, and he tears it out of his chest. And then he continues the offensive assault, concluding a series of moves with a corner splash. Ryan falls to the canvas and Park goes to the second turnbuckle. He's going for his closing argument, which is a middle rope splash. Ryan rolls out of the way this time. Ryan goes for the middle rope sunset flip, and basically, gravity defeats Joey Ryan as Joseph Park collides with him with the seated splash, and 1, 2, 3. So not bad, actually. I really don't mind these two's chemistry in the ring together. Anytime I get Joey Ryan in the ring, I'm a happy guy because I've been a big Joey Ryan supporter. I'm a big supporter of all the SoCal indie talent that have made it in the business. Obviously, they made it before, but I've made it to one of the big two. And I'm very happy to see Joey Ryan getting utilized in TNA, even though he's not been on television since him and Matt Morgan were going after the World Tag Team Championships. And I thought they were going to put the tag team belts on Morgan and Ryan, but they didn't. They just blew it off, and then Ryan went off television for a while. And now we got Matt Morgan once again going after Hogan and anybody that is around Hogan in any way. So Joey Ryan was kind of left floundering. But in this case, Ryan comes back in a match against Joseph Park. Joseph Park, it continues to be entertaining, and I don't miss Abyss at all. I really don't, honestly. I think Joseph Park is a great character, and I'm very happy that he's pulling it off. It's really good. It's very inside, that I'm sure it appeals to different people for different reasons. But overall, the kids can get behind Joseph Park because it's an underdog story. And the fans, like the real wrestling fans, you know, the ones that eat, breathe, sleep, the internet wrestling community, you know, the denominator that TNA actually talks to at this point, basically, they can accept this because of the fact that it's very inside. Now, I can totally understand why some people won't like this, and I get that too, but in the time that kayfabe is totally dead, basically, at this point, why not? It's a fun little gimmick, and I like it. Gotta admit it. So, backstage, we catch up with Bully Ray and Brooke, and this time, Brooke says all of their dreams are coming true. Bully interrupts and tells her he's nervous. He wants to make her, her dad, and himself proud. Now, Ray is interrupted by Hulk Hogan coming in on crutches. Of course, he just had the hip surgery, so he's coming in on crutches. He said he'd be at lockdown regardless, so here he is. He asks Brooke to talk to Bully Ray in private. So Hogan sits down and tells Bully Ray this little company has the chance to go bigger and bigger things, go on to bigger and better things tonight. Hogan tells Ray there's something about him that's really special, a type of energy. Hogan thinks Ray is TNA's launching point and is betting on him to win tonight and take the company on to greatness. Hogan says while he does want a son-in-law to be champion, there's more to it than that. He's seen what Ray has done to Brooke, how he's put a spark in her eye, and after all the crap Hogan has put her through, Hogan says he loves Ray like his own son, tells Ray he wants him to win the World Heavyweight title, and tells him to make sure the fans remember him for as long as they live, win or lose. Hogan and Ray shake hands, and Ray helps him up. Ray promises he'll make the fans remember him tonight. I wonder what's going to happen. Yay, foreshadowing. So, basically, Gail Kim makes her way to we'll get to that later. Gail Kim makes her way to the ring. This is our second championship matchup of the evening. This is for the Knockouts Championship. So, of course, we have referee Taryn Terrell in the ring, and she jaws back and forth with Gail Kim while her music is still playing. And I'll say one thing about tonight at Lockdown. I've heard more TNA theme music in tonight. Like, I've heard actually more of the song. I've not just heard it and got cut off. I mean, I literally have heard more of the actual song tonight than I've ever heard before. I didn't even know some of these songs had the rest of the parts to them, but they do, apparently. Then again, Aces and Eights is just the same chords over and over again. But that's what you expect with a heel theme music, especially a heel stable. Even the NWO was repetitive, but it was awesome. But anyway, I'll get to that later. I like the Aces and Eights theme, I'll admit it. So, basically, Gail Kim comes out, and of course she's, like I said, she was just jawing with Taryn Terrell, and then here comes Velvet Sky to the ring, and we are starting our second matchup. That's a title match for the Knockouts title. We'll go back to the finish as always. So, Gail sends Sky face first in the corner and hits the running midsection splash, which is really nice because she literally does a cross body while she's in the corner and into the buckles. It actually looks awesome. So, Gail Kim shows off on the ring apron, and she heads back in to continue the punishment. So, Sky fights back with a couple of forearms, and Gail kicks her to stop it. So, she picks up Velvet in a Samoan drop, and face plants her this time. That looks interesting. So, Gail goes for a cover, but Taryn catches her hand on the rope, so she refuses to count. So, Kim connects with a backbreaker, 1-2, and a kick out, and she screams out in frustration. Sky reverses the corner Irish whip and turns the attempted satellite head scissors into a faceplant of her own. Double down. So, we get Velvet Sky sidestepping a corner splash, hits a series of clotheslines and a back elbow on Gail Kim. She catches Kim with a running bulldog and an inverted DDT for a near fall. So Gail tries for the kick, but Sky catches it this time. Kim grabs Taryn Terrell to hold her balance and eat defeat after letting go for a very close near fall. So Gail angrily shoves Taryn Terrell and backs her in the corner. Terrell says it was 2, and Gail Kim openly slaps her in the face, daring her to disqualify her. Says, I don't care if you disqualify me, it doesn't matter, I'll get another rematch anyway. So Gail turns around, waiting for the bell, but Taryn decides to change it up a little bit, and she nails her with a spear before slamming her head repeatedly into the canvas over and over again. So Taryn yells and pulls at her hair. She finally composes herself as Gail points the finger at her. Velvet from behind locks up, and of course, in your face, 1, 2, 3. So, here's the deal. I told you so, and it's gonna happen. So here's what's going to happen, and I totally believe it's going to happen. I've said it for the last couple Impact reviews, and I'm going to say it right now. We are going to get Taryn Terrell versus Gail Kim on Impact. I know it's going to happen. I don't know if it'll happen as early as Thursday, but it will happen. There's a lot of stuff to do, actually, after the events of Lockdown. Of course, you have AJ Styles is going to show up unannounced and uninvited in order to get his point across to TNA. So I don't know if you do it this week, and I don't think it's going to make it to Slammiversary, but I know that it's going to happen somewhere down the road. So, it was a good match. It was a good knockouts match. They went about 7.5 minutes, and well done matchup with the two ladies. Not really many botches, to be totally honest. And they actually are getting back in the swing of things again with the Knockouts division. I don't know where you go from here. I mean, Gail Kim is defeated, so now you have to send someone else after Velvet. And really, what I would do at this point, once you've decided you want to do something with her in the company, I would let this be Lady Tapa's spot. You have to have faith in her to do this, but I think she could be the new Awesome Kong. I don't like that idea, but I think it works. And I think, given the fact that she's different, body size and wrestling ability like the rest of the Knockouts, she's more of a power instead of a finesse and speed. I think it actually will work in the long run to do Lady Tapa and Gail and Velvet Sky somewhere down the road. Maybe have Lady Tapa be Gail Kim's female bodyguard for a while, and then we build it that way. We could do that. Then again, we've already done that with Robbie E and Robbie T. And then, you know what? The funny thing about that is that's a hell of a segue, because that's our next match. But I didn't know that, so I was just looking back. But anyway, before we get to that, JB's back in. He's got Robbie E as his guest. He says, tonight is the night he finally proves that he's better than Big Rob. Robbie E says he did everything for Robbie T, but all of his former bro did was hold him back for 2 years. He speaks in a slow drawl so Texans can understand him and says he is going to make his former bro into his hoe. Okay, so we do our normal storyline recap, and we get to our match. Robbie E makes his way out to the ring, and Robbie T comes out with his own theme music, but he's still Robbie T, and he's still from the Jersey Shore. Okay, I would think it'd be Rob Terry from, Manchester, England, I believe is where it is, or something. I know it's England, but anyway. So we get to the finish as usual. So I'm going to call him Rob Terry because this makes it a lot easier for this review. So Terry grabs his former bro, but Robbie E drops the left arm over the top rope. Robbie E runs back and he clips the knee. He goes for a cover and only gets a 2 count. Robbie E applies the armbar to wear down the injured arm, but then jumps on his back for a sleeper hold. So Terry falls to one knee and he's starting to fade, but he gets back to his feet and Robbie E again jumps on his back. Robbie T rams him into the corner to break the hold, and Robbie E attempts the second rope, but is caught by Rob Terry. Robbie E slides out of the slam attempt, but Terry uses his power to beat the other Robbie down. Robbie T slams Robbie E to the mat and signals for the finish. So Rob Terry picks up Robbie E and standing spinebuster for the 1, 2, 3. It was more like a one-handed hanging tree slam or a modified sit-out choke slam. But anyway. Okay. So Robbie E bounces like a pinball, and in true Dolph Ziggler fashion, it worked really well for me. And, basically, the match wasn't very good. And I wasn't expecting it to be totally honest, but I went with my head. I went with my heart instead of my head in this match, and I predicted that the Big O would make his debut as the bodyguard for Robbie E, and it never happened. And given the fact that it wasn't going to happen, I shouldn't have went with that. And if I didn't go with that, then I would have known that Rob Terry was going to win this match. I don't know why they're keeping the Robbie T gimmick. I think come Thursday night they'll drop it, so that'll work. So, up next, we have JB in the back once again with one half of the World Tag Team Champions, Austin Aries. So JB asks where his partner is. Aries goes, people have been asking him all week, and he doesn't need Bobby Roode to get the job done, or to keep the belts. Aries does say he can defeat every one of his 4 opponents by himself, but luckily for him, it won't be necessary. And in walks Bobby Roode. He simply says, "Miss me?" And then they leave. Okay, now, pretty much what happened from this. This was something that happened way after I shot the last video, so I couldn't really elaborate on it. And I couldn't elaborate on it during AJ's weekend movie reviews, and I really couldn't elaborate on it with the lockdown predictions, because it's brand new news. Apparently, the internet was abuzz the other day because of Bobby Roode's contract running out. And Bobby Roode was not at the building. Bobby Roode was not at Fan Interaction. And reports were saying Bobby Roode was not going to show up. So it might have been Aries by himself. And in that case, I was predicting the Bad Influence would regain the World Tag Team Championships. But it was all for nothing because Bobby Roode showed up literally at the last minute. And God knows what kind of hell's going down on Bruce Pritchard right now for letting that happen. And now he's back. I don't know if he's back for a while, but I'm going to guess he is because I'm guessing he signed a contract extension. I've not read anything else, but I'm going to say Bobby Roode signed a contract extension. And he showed up for one of the best matches of the evening. In my mind, pretty much the best match of the night. So, this was the 3-way dance for the TNA World Tag Team Championships. Chavo Guerrero Jr. and Hernandez, of course, definitely have home field advantage against the best tag team in the business today, Bad Influence, against the World Tag Team Champions, the greatest man who ever lived, Austin Aries, and the It Factor, Bobby Roode. This match was phenomenal. Absolutely incredible. And I really love to call this all 17 minutes of the match, but due to time constraints, I really can't, so I'm just going to go to the finish. So, we have a great, great match where everybody just lays it out on the line, and you have a tremendous 3-way match done the right way with 6 guys that can go. Now, we'll not to the finish, I'll actually get to the setup before the finish here. So, Chavo fights back once again, and Roode dodges a dropkick. Chavo is sent into the champion's corner and drops Aries off the apron. So, Chavo backflips over Roode. They both knock each other down with a clothesline. We have a double down. Aries tags in, preventing the tag, hitting all 3 wrestlers. And Aries throws Chavo out of the ring as Bad Influence, and Aries and Roode get into an argument/shoving match. So, everyone gets their shots in, and Aries and Kaz both collide with a crossbody block at the same time. Chavo hits a top rope crossbody and makes the hot tag to Hernandez, who hits a slingshot shoulder block to Kazarian and Aries. Hernandez drops Aries face first on the canvas. Roode and Daniels try to stop any further punishment, but are dropped with a double clothesline. Hernandez drops Kaz and Aries with an over-the-shoulder backbreaker. Oh my god, it looked amazing. Because he set up his version of the Colt 45, and literally he picked up the other superstar at the same time, and he hit it on both men at the same time. He picked up Kaz and he picked up Aries, and he nailed them both with the over-the-shoulder backbreaker. It looked phenomenal. So Chavo suplexes Kaz onto his shoulder. That's end up how he lands, because he basically had Aries up, and then Chavo suplexes Kaz up, and then they both drop at the same time. It looked phenomenal. So Hernandez goes for the pin and the kick out from Aries. So Aries knocked out of the ring by Hernandez, and Daniel stops him with the STO. So Chavo hits a spin kick to Daniel, sending him to the outside. Bobby Roode takes Chavo out with the Uranagi, and Kaz hits Rude with the springboard DDT. He sets up for Fade to Black. Aries comes in to prevent it. This time, Rude hits Kaz with the spine buster, the double R, and Aries goes up top. Daniels crotches him, tags himself in. Keep that in mind. And Daniels and Rude are slugging it out, and Hernandez runs up the ramp. And Air Mexico, both men in the ring from the ramp. It looked amazing. Now, Chris Daniels goes for the second rope crossbody. Hernandez catches him, connecting with a sit-out powerbomb. So Chavo tags in, goes to the top. Kaz meets him up there. Aries pushes Kaz off the top and onto the floor, so he's down. He's not in the finish now. So Chavo's set up for the superplex, and Sean Hernandez peels Aries off, and Aries sends them both to the outside with their Hurricane Rana. Daniels meets Chavo at the top, and Chavo knocks him to the canvas. He goes for the frog splash, but right as he goes for the frog splash, Bobby Roode slaps his back, making himself officially the man that's legal in the match. Keep that in mind. So he hits the frog splash, and he nails it. And, of course, he's going for the pin on Chris Daniels, and Bobby Roode is now the legal man, so that's not going to happen. So Chavo gets knocked out of the ring by Austin Aries. Bobby Roode runs in, steals the win. 1, 2, 3. What a match. They went 17 minutes, and 17 minutes of intense, hard-hitting action, and it was incredible. I'll tell you right now, the three best teams in the division, right now the three only established teams in the division, which is a shame because I think the TNA tag team division is head and shoulders above the WWE tag team division. But the WWE doesn't have an X division, so I can't really talk about that. But it delivered. It delivered. It was so good. And I'll tell you right now, Aries and Rude stole the belts back. So they are going to continue with their reign as World Tag Team Champions. So hopefully they switch it up a little bit because they're kind of the same act that Daniels and Kaz are. So who's the bigger heel is basically what it is. Who's the bigger jerk? I mean, you can do that way. But I think come Thursday we're going to see something different from their characters. They're not going to be a face turn. They're not going to be a tweener team. They're still going to be the douchebags they always have been, but it's going to be different this time. So Jeremy Borash this time brings in Taryn Terrell to talk about what occurred in the show, and Taryn basically gets a few words off saying she's been pushing her for months, and at the end of the day, she had to stand up for herself. The second she says that Gail Kim pie faces her from behind, I can't really say that, Pearl Harbors are from behind, pie faces doesn't make any sense. Pearl Harbors are from behind, and they start beating each other up. So backstage separates the two. This time it's Pat Kenny and Al Snow, of course, because D'Lo Brown's now aces and eights, VP, so can't really do that here. So the crew starts assembling the cage for the rest of the show. And we're going to talk about how the fact that Slammiversary 11 will be held June 2nd in Boston, Massachusetts. So that's going to be awesome. So we catch up with aces and eights backstage. D'Lo says they've waited 9 months for what's going to happen tonight. And he recaps what each member has done for them in the course of the past 9 months. Brown says let's do this after deciding who went her first in Lethal Lockdown. That person being Mr. Anderson. Now, I'll mention this too. This is the first time it's brought up this whole night. And you got 3 matches still to go. Mike Knox is now being called Nux. I guess it's probably the whole Cajones thing versus Balls Mahoney they did at Hardcore Justice to get away from the copyright. So I guess you can't use the name Knox in TNA, so they're calling him Nux. Okay, so we'll go with that. JB's back there with Kurt Angle, and this time he says tonight's the night he's going to make Wes Briscoe famous. There will be nowhere to run or nowhere to hide for Briscoe, and he tells D'Lo Brown specifically that he's next. Keep that in mind. Angle says Briscoe is not like his dad or uncle. He's a snot-nosed punk who needs his ass kicked. And Kurt Angle basically says he's going to give Wes Briscoe a San Antonio ass whooping. Wow, that sounds quite familiar, actually. And concludes with, it's real, it's damn real. Thank you, Kurt Angle, for making me have to curse on my YouTube channel. Anyway, so we have our first steel cage match of the evening. An 11 minute and 45 second confrontation between Wes Briscoe and Kurt Angle. So we'll get to the finish here. So Angle tries to go for the Angle Slam. Briscoe then slides out. He goes for a clothesline. Briscoe ducks, and he lands the ref and literally flips him upside down, spins him like a top. It looked amazing. So Angle goes for the ankle lock with the grapevine, and Briscoe's tapping like Sammy Davis Jr., but there's no referee to call for the bell. Angle tries to rake up the ref and refocus on his opponent, connecting with another Angle Slam. He flips Briscoe off and opens the cage door to leave. He exits to the ramp, but D'Lo Brown attacks him from behind and tosses him back in. Brown then pulls Briscoe out as the ref wakes up, giving the win to Aces and Eights. In that match, actually I want to talk about another spot in that match, was phenomenal, which was a German suplex off the top rope against the cage from Kurt Angle. It looked awesome. So, decent match actually. But it could have been a whole lot better. I was expecting a lot more from Wes Briscoe in this match. And you know what? He kind of let me down, honestly. He wasn't as impressive as he could have been in this match. And this was a match for Wes Briscoe to shine against a man that you cannot have a bad match with. But Briscoe made it happen. He's not only not good on the mic, he's not as good in the ring as I thought he was either. So, he went over tonight via Aces and Eights interference. But I don't think that he's going to get many victories. Many clean victories, mind you. So Angle was pretty much going through the motions of the match. I mean, the middle rope German, the top rope German looked awesome. But basically, still, it looked like he was going through the motions of the match. I think we're going to see Kurt Angle and D'Lo Brown down the road. As long as D'Lo can still go, I don't have a problem with this. If D'Lo can still work like he could back in the WWF, I think that the match would be really good. But I think he's going to be really nervous the whole match because obviously what happened accidentally to Draws. So, we got Kurt Angle and D'Lo Brown on the horizon maybe, and I don't have a problem with that, so we'll get to that. So, Lethal Lockdown. Alright. Is the next match Team TNA against Aces and Eights. And basically, the match was done pretty simply. Team TNA started off with Magnus, actually, against Mr. Anderson. And you know what? I'm actually going to pause right here, and I'm going to talk about Lethal Lockdown and the rest of the Celebrity Apprentice in just a few minutes. So, until a little bit from now, right now, to be continued.